Good morning, everyone. How are you? I hope you are doing well. Today we are going to continue our lecture and going to discuss section 7.51, yes, no question with modal auxiliary. Of course, this type of yes, no question requires full attention since modal auxiliaries have meaning. So if you ask by them, it means you are asking by their meaning. So let's have a look on them. The formation of yes-no question with modal auxiliaries is subject to certain limitations and shift of meaning, because if you ask, you are going to ask by their meaning. What I mean here, you are going to see after we discuss this topic. The modals, for example, of permission, which is may, especially in British English, and can, and also of obligation, for example, must in British English, and have to. This, of course, involve the speaker's authority in a statement and the listener's authority in questions. What is the meaning here? Suppose we have a speaker and listener. Suppose we have a teacher and a student. So the teacher will be the speaker and the student will be the listener, right? Who asks for permission? The speaker, the teacher, or the student? Of course, it is the student who asks for permission from the teacher, from the speaker. So he or she will ask a permission. That's why it is the listener's authority in asking a question, and the speaker will reply to that question either by saying yes or no. So it is the speaker's authority in statement. So the speaker is not going to ask a question. It is the listener who is going to ask the question. That's why it says here, it requires the speaker's authority in a statement, because the teacher will reply. So the replying is in the shape, in the form of statement, while the listener is going to ask for request, for permission. So it is the listener's authority in asking the question. So let's have a look on what is said here. Okay, may and can, when we use them for permission. Now see, the listener is going to ask the speaker a permission. May I leave now? May I leave now? Can I leave now? Can I leave now? See, it is in the form of question. It means that will you permit me to leave now? Will you permit me? Will you allow me to leave now? So the speaker is going to reply, yes, you may, or yes, you can, or the speaker might say no, for example. So the reply is in the form of statement. It means, yes, I will permit you. Yes, I will allow you to leave now. Okay. Concerning obligation, must I leave now? Do I have to leave now? So the listener asks the speaker, are you telling me to leave now? For instance, if the speaker asks the listener to leave now. So the listener is clarifying what he or she has heard. So he or she will say, must I leave now? Do I have to leave now? See, it is in the form of question. Are you telling me to leave now? Are you obliged me to leave now? The speaker will say, yes, you must leave now. Yes, you have to leave now. I'm telling you to leave now. Okay. A similar switch from listener to speaker takes place with shall if it comes in the form of volition, which especially in British English implicates the speaker's will in a statement. See the speaker say something, statement. But the listeners will in a question. The listeners will in a question. See this example. You shall suffer for this. You shall suffer for this. This is not a question. The speaker is telling the listener that he or she shall suffer for this. I intend to make you suffer. I intend to make you suffer. Okay, now see this, the listener. Shall I switch off the television? Shall I switch off the television? Do you want me to switch off the television? So the listeners will and a question, and the speakers will and statement. Do you want me to switch off the television? Now, the direct question use of shall, however, is virtually restricted to the first person, where with we, it has both exclusive and inclusive senses. Shall we carry your suitcases? Would you like us to carry your suitcases? Shall we have dinner? Would you like us, including you, to have dinner? So for we and for the first person, intentionally we use shall instead of will. May, if it means possibility. May, if it means possibility, is not employed at all in the questions. It never employed in questions. Instead, if I want to ask with the meaning of possibility, I use can or could. And the statement will be by may, it is possible, or might. So, can they have missed the bus? Could they have? Is it possible that they have missed the bus? Is it possible that they have missed the bus? The reply will be by the side of the speaker. Yes, they may have. Yes, they might have. It is possible that they miss the bus. Need. Need in British English is a non-assertive auxiliary. So its meaning is negative. Its meaning is negative, especially if it comes as an auxiliary. In clauses where the corresponding positive form is must. Must means obligation and it is positive. It is positive. Hence, in questions, need it happen. Need it happen. See, now need, it is used here as an auxiliary. In American English or British English, if it comes as a lexical form, then if I want to ask, I have to bring verb to do. If it is a lexical form, does it need to happen? Does it have to happen? Here the need is a lexical form. It is not an auxiliary model. If it is an auxiliary model, we ask by it. We ask by it. So the answer will be yes, it must. Yes, it has to. Okay. If, on the other hand, must had occurred in A's question must here, it would have had positive orientation because must always mean positive. Positive means positive. It is a fact that is it a fact that it must happen? Is it a fact that it must happen? See, here I'm asking by must, it means it's true that it is happened. Compare need. Need it ever happen with must it always happen, where the assertive form has to be retained with must, of course, because it means positive things. Now we are going to move to WH question. We finished from yes, no questions. And now we are going to move to WH questions, section 7.52. WH questions are formed with the aid of one of the following interrogative words. Interrogative words. or sometimes we call Q words. Q words. These are as follow. Who are the following: who, whom, whose, what, which, when, where, how, and why. As a rule, the Q element, please pay attention to the word Q element. Q element means but the clause containing the Q word. The clause containing the Q words. Like for example, which books? Which books? It is not one word. It is not one word. It is a clause. A clause element containing the Q words generally comes first in the sentence, like this one. Which books? Both comes in initial position. 2. The Q word itself takes first position in the Q element. So if I have this Q element, which books, it is not right, it is not correct to say books which. No, the W word should comes first. W word should comes first, and then the other element. So in WH questions, either we have WH word alone, or we have WH element in which the WH word contains another element. I'm going to ask about it. So these rules, 2 rules, should be there where if I want to make WH questions. The only exceptions to the second principle is when the Q word occurs in prepositional complement. So if I have a sentence that contains a prepositional complement, in this way the preposition will precede the WH word, especially in formal speech, while if it is informal, WH word will be in initial position, and the preposition will be at the end of the sentence before the question mark. Here, English provides a choice between 2 constructions, one formal and the other less so, informal. In formal style, the preposition precedes the complement, whereas in colloquial style, the complement comes first and the preposition retains the position it has in declarative sentence at the end of the sentence. So let's have a look to these 2 sentences. On what did you base your prediction? This is formal. What did you base your prediction on? This is informal. We may perhaps express this difference more neatly by saying that colloquial English insists that Q word comes first, while formal English insists that the Q element as a whole comes first. Now, let's have a look to these WH words or WH elements. The following are sentences in which the Q element operates in various clause functions. Who opened the letter? With who, of course, nothing will change. Comes instead of the subject, in the place of the subject, and everything will be as it is. There is no inversion between the subject and the operator. If the sentence contains no operator, okay, no harm. We can use it as it is. It's only we remove the subject and put who and ask by it. So who means I'm asking about the subject. Which books have you lent him? For example, the sentence is, I have lent him English books. I is the subject, have learned is the verb, him is the direct object, so is the indirect object, so the English books will be the direct objects. So here I'm asking about the direct objects. Whose beautiful antiques are these? Of course, these whose beautiful antiques, this is subject complement. So I'm asking about the subject complement. How wide did they make the bookcase? This is about the object complement. When, this is for time. When will you come back? Q element, adverb of time. Where shall I put the classes? Q element, adverb of place. Why? See, adverb of reason. Why are they always complaining? So Q element, adverb of reason. How, adverb of process. See, how did you mend it? It is adverb of process. How much, intensifier, as you see, this is a quantity. How much does he care? So it is adverb of intensifying. How long, as you see, this is duration. How long have you been waiting? This is Q element, adverb of duration. How often, adverb of frequency. How often do you visit New York? Q element, adverb of frequency. Okay. As the examples indicate, falling intonation. As you see, at the end of each word, there is a falling intonation. See, it is falling intonation. So it is different from yes, no question. In yes, no question, we usually rise our tone at the end of the word. If you remember, we have explained this. So with yes, no question, at the end of the question, before putting the question mark, we usually rise our tone. While with WH question, we normally use falling tone. So as you see here in this vowel, so it is falling tone. So as the example indicate, falling intonation and rising intonation is usual for WH questions. We see above that normal statement order of element is absent in WH question, not only by the initial placing of the Q element, but also by the inversion of subject and operator in all cases. So what distinguishes this from yes no question is that both the WH question and yes no question, there is an inversion between the subject and the operator. So all the time the operator comes or precedes the subject, comes before or precedes the subject. So I have WH word, then I have operator, then I have a subject, then I have the main verb and the complement of the sentence, then I put question mark. Of course, except with the, if I ask about the subject in which it is who, here I never use the inversion between subject and operator. And as usual, as we explained with yes, no question, if there is no operator, of course, we can depend on verb to do. Okay. So there is an inversion of subject and operator in all cases, except that in which the Q element is subject, where the rule of initial Q element takes precedence over the rule of inversion. Okay. Subject operator inversion is the same in its application to WH question. As in its application to yes, no question. So when we separate the operator from the subject and put it initial position, it is the same as we did with yes, no question. If there is no auxiliary in the equivalent statement, Do is introduced as operator in the question, as I mentioned, as I told you. Lexical be, and sometimes in British English have, acts as an operator. We say, how are you? How are you? And we say, who have we here? And this is very rare. We never follow the British way in using have, like we use a verb to be. Okay. Concerning this note, all A, B, C, D are important. All are important. I request you to read it at home and understand it carefully. And I'm going to explain the first one to let you know how to read the other notes. Adjuncts of instruments. So I have adjuncts of instruments, reason and purpose. Normally we use a question with the prepositional constructions. Usually, if there is adjuncts of instrument like meant something, reason, or purpose, we usually use the question word with the preposition. Like in this example, what shall I mend it with? So mend some instrument. What shall I mend it with? So I use here preposition. Or what did you do for or that for? What is the reason? What did you do that for? What is the reason for that? So I use question with prepositional construction. So you have to read it like this and read the other three. Okay. Now we move to alternative question. Alternative questions, in which this is the third type. This is the third type. Because as we mentioned on page 192, that there are three types of questions. Those that expect only affirmation or rejection, like for example, have you finished the book? And we call this yes no question. And those that expect a reply supplying an item of information, as for example, what is your name, how old are you, and we call it WH question, and we finish with it. And now the third type, those that expect as the reply one of two or more options presented in the question, and we name this or call this alternative question. Okay, so this is the third type, alternative question. Section 7.54. There are two types of alternative questions. So we have two types of alternative questions. The first, resembling a yes-no question, and the second, a WH question. How is that? The first one, in the first one of this type, alternative question, we depend on the operator found in the sentence, and we give choices. So I ask by the operator and I give choices. But of course, the reply will not be yes or no. It will be by choosing one of these choices. Okay, see, would you like chocolate? I'm raising my tone here. Would you like chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? Here I use a falling tone. It gives an indication that I'm finishing the counting. So would you like chocolate, comma, vanilla, comma, or strawberry ice cream? This is one type in which I depend on the operator found in the sentence. The other type is by using WH word, or WH element. In which I pull the last word, ice cream, I pull it, and I ask, which ice cream would you like? Which ice cream would you like? Here you have to lower down your tone. Which ice cream would you like? Now I have to use rising intonation. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. Here there is a falling tone. a falling tone. So I use which. Of course, the reply will be by choosing one of the options here. The first type differs from yes-no question only in intonation. Instead of the final rising tone, it contains a separate nucleus for each alternative. A rise occurs on each item on the list, except on the last, so rise, except with the last, in which there is a full, indicating that the list is complete. The list is complete. The difference of intonation between alternative and yes-no questions is important. Of course, you have to differentiate between the two. In that, ignoring it, if I ignore the intonation, it can lead to misunderstanding, and the reply will not be proper, will not be correct. As the contrast between these replies indicates. See, we have alternative and yes, no. Alternative. Shall we go by bus or train? The reply will be by bus. See, yes, no question. Shall we go by bus? Shall we go by bus or train? Shall we go by bus or train? So there is no intonation here. There is no intonation, and there is rising intonation in the last word. So the reply will be no, let's take the car. So it is yes, no question. No, even the choice is not found in the question. You can answer yes, no, and choose whatever reply you like. The second type of alternative question, so there is another type in which we mix both. We mix both. We mix the WH element with the type one when we ask by the operator. So the second type of alternative question is really a compound of two separate questions, a WH question followed by an elliptical alternative question of the first type. Thus, two might be taken as a reduced version. I think there's another sentence here. Yeah, a reduced version of which ice cream would you like? Would you like chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? Please have a look here. Have a look here. If I ask by which, as I did here, just have a look here. See, in this one. When I ask by WH element, first I ask about the ice cream, and then I have question mark. Then I start to give alternatives. I'm trying to give choices. But when? After putting the question mark. So I have, as if I'm having two questions. Which ice cream would you like? Which ice cream would you like? Question mark. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? This is another question. Related to the first. So I have, if I ask by WH word, as if I'm having actually two questions together, combined together. Okay. So this second type here, I combined WH word with the type of question started with operator. So I ask, which ice cream would you like? Which ice cream would you like? Falling intonation. Which ice cream would you like? Question mark. Would you like chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? So there is no need to repeat ice cream here since I stated previously. So I mix the two, I combine the two types together. Any positive yes, no question can be converted into an alternative question by adding or not. So if I have yes no question, I can immediately change it to alternative question by adding or not. See, of course, the first or the yes no question should be in the positive, because I'm going to change it into not or not. So positive, then I add or not. Let's have a look. Are you coming? Are you coming? See, rising tone. Alternative. Are you coming or not? Are you coming or not? Are you coming or aren't you? Or aren't you coming? Either you say here you want to say coming or avoid repeating the word. That's why it is written in between two parentheses here, as you see. So either to mention it or to ellipse it. Are you coming or aren't you coming? The alternative variant, by spelling out the negative aspects of the question, is rather petulant in tone, but is otherwise indistinguishable in meaning from the yes-no question. Okay, let's have a look to this section, and then we will stop when we reach. We will stop to in the section 7.56. We will explain this in the next lecture. Okay, so section 7.55, the structure of alternative yes-no question follows the pattern of closal coordination in which it is found in Unit 9. Okay, let me read Unit 9, Section 9.21. And this, the title of this section is Ellipses in Coordinated Clauses. Ellipses in Coordinated Clauses. Ellipses of subject and auxiliaries, the title. Identical subjects. So if I have subjects in which they are identical, of coordinated clauses. So I have clauses in which I combine them. They are coordinated, linked together. And there are identical subjects between them, the same subjects. So these identical subjects are ellipted. Like, for example, Peter ate a cheese sandwich, and so there is another clause in which I'm going to coordinate to the first. And Peter drank a glass of beer. As you see here, Peter is repeated twice. It is identical in both clauses. So instead of repeating Peter, it is preferable to delete one. So it will be Peter ate a cheese sandwich and drank a glass of beer. The same condition is here. So if there are identical subjects or auxiliaries, it is preferable to ellipse them or delete them by ellipses. Let's have a look to this example. Did Italy win the World Cup, or did Brazil win the World Cup? So as you see, did is repeated, and when the World Cup is repeated also. So instead of repeating them, it is preferable to delete them. But of course, it is not a matter of deleting these words like that. There is certain rule. Actually, they prefer, or it is preferable, not to delete the second repeated items. It is preferable to delete the first. So often, the elliptical part of an alternative question is placed within the first question. The first question is ellipted. So instead of saying, did Italy win the World Cup or did Brazil win the World Cup, it will be like that. Did Italy or Brazil win the World Cup? So the second part is kept as it is, and the first part is ellipted. Are you or aren't you coming? Are you or aren't you coming? See, so I ellipted the first part. Okay, where there is no repeated structure and the first clause, the elements in the first clause are totally different from the element in the second clause, I will keep them as a whole without ellipting anything. So where there is no repeated structure, no ellipses is possible. And so the second question appears in its full form. Is it raining or has it stopped? So raining is something different from stopped. So I have to keep them both. We reached two minor types of question. I hope you benefit from what I have explained here. And you have the lecture recorded for you, sound and video. I hope you are going to benefit from it. So good luck and goodbye. We will meet again, inshallah, with the next section. Thank you. Bye.